So the phone rings and the client says, "We'd like to hire you." Now what do? Here's 8 questions you should ask to help you set up a very successful estimating experience. Hi, this is JP Morgan. Today on the Slanted Lens, we're going to talk about the questions you need to ask to set up a very successful estimating experience. When you ask the right questions, your client's going to give you the information you need to be able to give the client back what they need in an estimate. So let's go through those questions and let's get started and see what we can do. Question number 1. Well, I should say series of questions. Number 1. Ask interesting and interested questions. They want to feel from you that you're interested in their project. Ask them questions that show that you're interested in what they're doing. Well, tell me about this product. Tell me about the demographics, the people that it's going to appeal to. Help me get a good feeling about the product. So ask them questions that show that you're interested in the product. Also, ask them questions that show that you're an interesting person. If you say, "Well, that sounds really fun. I think I'd like to shoot that." Who's going to hire that guy? You know, if you go, "Wow, this is a fabulous shoot. I'm really interested in this. This reminds me of something I've been wanting to work on for my portfolio or something I'd love to do for," it shows that you're interested and you're an interesting person and you have a perspective and you have something to bring to the party. Number 2, remember this very simple principle. The first person who says the price usually loses. You can be very upfront in the beginning and say, "Well, what's your budget? Have you shot something like this before?" I mean, a person says to you, "Well, we just have never shot anything like this," or "We're not really shooting." Say, "Well, have you ever done photo shoots in the past?" "Yeah, we shot some stuff last year." "What was your budget on that? How much money did you spend on this project?" Just anything you can do to try to get them to give you some idea of where they're at as an agency, how much money they have spent on projects in the past, and even how much money they have for this project. It is interesting because most people will say to you, "No, we don't really know what the budget is yet," which is not true. I mean, everyone always knows what the budget is. No one always calls up and says, "Just give me a price, it'll be cool." No, they have an idea what they'd like to spend, or they have an idea of exactly the most they can spend. So the more information you get to give them that information, the better. Number 3, you've got to ask about usage. In today's market, there's a value to the image depending on where it's used. And so if you don't get a good idea of where it's being used and how it's being used, then you're in trouble. A really good agency will lead with this in their specs. They'll say, "We're going to be using it as a billboard. Possibly we're going to use it as trade ads." They'll line that all out for you. But if you get a client who's calling in is not as savvy, they're going to say, "Well, we're just doing this shoot." You've got to help them understand that there's value in the different areas that they use the image. Because if it's only going to be used in very small trade publications, that's much different than Pepsi is going to use it as a national ad. That's a much different world that you're living in. Number 4, this is a very simple one. Who am I competing against? I've done this for 25 years. If I can find out who I'm competing against, it helps me to know how much I can charge. There's a gentleman I used to compete with against in Los Angeles for years and years, and I knew when he showed up on the bidding process, I couldn't make as much money. But if I had another gentleman that was on the bidding process, I could make a whole lot of money. So it just depends on the market. Some people priced themselves too low, I felt like. Some people were just so out there, it just made it so there's gravy for everybody. So knowing the person you're competing against will also give you an idea about the style. Here's 3 photographers, and she's really this or he's really that, and it just gives you a good idea of, well, how do I fit into this mix? Number 5 is one I always ask. I want to know how they found out about me. Was it a card I mailed out to them? Did they see me online? Was it through an APA site that I put up? How did they find out about JP Morgan Pictures? First off, it helps me understand what my marketing is doing, what's successful and what's not. And secondly, depending on where they saw me, I know the caliber of photographers and what that world is like. It gives me a good idea of who they are, depending on where they found me. Because a lot of times the places people look for imagery gives you a pretty good idea of the tier in the market that they're in. Number 6, I ask, is there an image or group of images that you've responded to that caused you to call me? I do that because I want to know if there's an image in there that they said, "Hey, that's great. We love the tiger in the bathtub. Call JP Morgan." Well, now I know that that's the kind of image they want. It gives me an idea of almost the approach that they want. Understand what image they responded to will give you a better idea about their direction, and it'll help you to estimate it a lot easier. Number 7, you've got to find out who's on the team on the creative side. Who's the art buyer? Who's the art director? Who's the creative director? Find out who all these people are. Try to determine by asking questions like, who's the one that came up with the concept? You know, is there someone I should speak to there about their approach for this concept? You want to try to find out who it is that's making the final decision. Well, the art director really is driving the process, and they had this thought and they really liked what you did. You want to get that person on the phone. It's going to help you to estimate better because you're going to get information from that person that's going to give you exactly what you need to know to be able to estimate. And it's also going to help you get the job because you're talking to the decision maker. And again, you want to be interesting and interested with that person, so they're going, hey, I'd love to spend a week with this person, and I think they have the right approach. They know exactly what I want. Okay, number 8. This is a big one. It really is the foundation for how this entire process goes. You've got to ask them all the questions you possibly can about the approach. Now, as you have asked your questions up to this point, you've asked them about what image they responded to. You don't say to them, well, do you really want natural window light? When they said they loved your image that was shot on studio on a set. You don't ask that question. You ask a point-blank question. You say, so would you like to see this done as a set with a tiger in a bathtub? And they go, yeah, I'd love that. So it's a process of gaining the information, feeding it back to them in a manner that will help them to know that you got it, and now you're more likely to get the job. And you also know the things you need to do to estimate the job so you can be able to get an estimate that will reflect the money they can spend. So there's your 8 questions or line of questions that you should ask when you start to set up your estimate. But now it's time to do the estimate. I'm going to give you 3 bonus tips on doing your estimate. Number 1 is research the client. Research the agency. Know exactly who it is you're dealing with. Get online. Look at their webpage. You know, if you're shooting for Coca-Cola versus Ted Soda, it's going to be a huge range. Coca-Cola is going to have a ton more money than Ted Soda. Ted makes a great soda, I'm sure, but Ted is not Coca-Cola. So know the agency and know the client. That's going to help you know how much you can charge. Number 2 is create a schedule. Just a quick schedule that says, I'm going to do this day, we're going to travel this day, we're going to shoot these 2 days. It lines out the job. That quick schedule becomes the skeleton and the foundation for your estimate, because now you know how many days your assistants will be working. You know how many days you will charge for. Putting together a schedule for me really becomes the beginning of the estimate. It helps me answer so many questions. And lastly, take a day or so to think about it. You know, as much time as you can to think about the price, to think about the things you've included in the estimate, things that you may want to change. Just give yourself a little bit of time, let it settle, look at it with fresh eyes, give you an idea of exactly if that's where you want it to be. So there's a few tips on doing the estimate, but the reality is estimating is kind of a complicated process. I've put together a download that's going to teach you kind of the estimating process from my point of view. I talk in depth about how to put the estimate together. I give you templates. I'm going to show you exactly the things you need to include. I'll walk through estimates with you. I'll talk about pricing. I'll do it for commercial photography. I'll do it for wedding photography. I'll do it for portraits. I put all those things together. There's a packet of handouts that give you great contracts and information that goes with the estimating process. So if you'll go to theslanted_lens/estimating, you'll see a great digital download there that's going to answer all your questions with regards to estimating. Gives you great information that will help you feel secure when you put together your estimate. I hope this has given you some great information that will kind of lay a foundation so you can ask the right questions to set up your estimate. So don't be afraid. Ask the questions, do a great estimate, make some money, keep those cameras rolling, and keep on clicking.